There are places where, when you see the light, it's not a sign of life, but a warning that something or someone still lingers there. Hidden among the gloomy fields of County Offaly, Ireland, stands an ancient stone castle, cloaked in cold grey rock, where prayers still echo in silence, even though no living soul remains. That castle is called Leap Castle, and it's not just a part of history, it's a doorway to the other side. No one has lived in Leap Castle for decades, but night after night, locals still report seeing light coming from the bloody chapel, the sacred room where a priest was brutally stabbed to death by his brother, right in the middle of Mass. People who've driven past in the dead of night swear they've seen a man in a white robe, head bowed, as if praying before a blood-stained altar. Leap Castle is haunted is unlike any other place. While ancient castles often carry memories, this one holds entities that are not human, not ghost, but something in between. Faceless, nameless beings called elementals are said to appear in the night, accompanied by a thick stench of sulfur and a chilling breath that crawls across your neck. They are signs that you are no longer alone. Unlike the haunted castles of Europe you've heard about in videos or films, Leap Castle doesn't need special effects. The fear here is real. It's the sound of claws scratching up from the dungeon. The invisible footsteps follow behind you. The faint light flickering in the dark, as if something from beyond is inviting you to cross over. And the question is, do you have the courage to follow that call and open the door to Leap Castle, where restless spirits never find peace? A castle not built from stone, but from the blood of kin. That cold flicker of light doesn't appear by chance. It's the echo of prayers that were never answered, from a soul betrayed inside his own family's chapel. To understand how deeply haunted Leap Castle is, you have to go back to the beginning. A history written not in ink, but in blood. Leap Castle was built in the late 15th century by the O'Bannon clan, a minor branch of a greater power, the O'Carroll family, rulers of the Ross-Cray region through both law and brutal force. From its earliest days, this was never a typical castle. It was a symbol of dominance, a place where the strong among the clan did not hesitate to kill each other, to claim a cold stone throne in the heart of the ancient forest. Among the bloodiest tales of Leap Castle, none is more horrifying than the murder at the altar. While an older brother priest was performing mass for his own family in the chapel high above, his younger brother suddenly stormed in. Without a word, he drove a fatal blade straight into the priest's chest. Blood sprayed across the stone walls, soaking the sacred floor. The priest died at the foot of the altar, where he once preached forgiveness, and the brother never showed remorse. Since that day, the chapel has lost its official name. People call it something far colder: the Bloody Chapel. And that is just one of many killings in the dark legacy of what is often called the most haunted castle in Ireland. The O'Carroll clan didn't just kill enemies. They murdered their kin, loyal servants, and even unsuspecting guests.
At Leap, a feast could be a trap. An invitation could be a death sentence, and a smile could hide a dagger. While many haunted castles in Ireland carry only legends, Leap Castle carries real bloodstains still soaked into the stone. And do you know what the most terrifying thing is? The ghosts that haunt this place. They are not always the victims. Sometimes they are the murderers. There's a place inside Leap Castle where you don't walk down by stairs, you fall straight into death. No one screams, no one hears, because the scream lies buried beneath the stone. At the upper level of the castle, once a sacred space for prayer, Now known as the Bloody Chapel of Leap Castle, the priest's blood still seems to stain the floor with the bleak mark of betrayal. But what makes visitors, paranormal researchers, and even lifelong locals shiver isn't just the murder that happened mid-mass. It's what lies beneath the chapel. In 1922, a group of workmen renovating part of the castle, which had been damaged by fire, stumbled upon a hidden passage behind the stone wall of the Bloody Chapel. Curious, they tore down the old stones and uncovered a deep, vertical shaft. No stairs, no ladder, just darkness and the stench of decay. They called it an oubliette from Old French, meaning a place to forget. But the O'Carrolls didn't forget. They used it deliberately to drop prisoners, traitors, or anyone who displeased them into the pit. At the bottom were dozens of razor-sharp wooden spikes, positioned to pierce lungs and end lives on impact. 3 cartloads of human bones were eventually pulled from that hole. Not a grave, not a resting place, a murder pit. Today, when you step into that room, there are no screams, but the air still wraps around your neck like something alive. Some visitors swear they've heard whispers rising from the darkness below, soft groans, like someone still moaning even after centuries. And this is what makes Leap Castle not just a haunted castle in Ireland, but Ireland's most notorious haunted dungeon castle. Here, the ghosts don't float through walls. They lie buried beneath the ground, and they're still there waiting for someone else to fall. No blood was spilled, no screams, no struggle. Just 40 men collapsing quietly, gently as if death were the final dessert they never ordered. Some murders are driven by hatred, some massacres by war. But at Leap Castle, there was one mass killing committed out of nothing more than greed and cold calculation. It wasn't the most painful death in the castle's history, but it left the darkest stain. On one fateful night in the 16th century, 40 men from the McMahon clan of Northern Ireland warriors hired to train the O'Carroll army were invited to a feast. A lavish, intimate banquet, rich wine, roasted meat, a celebration of victory and brotherhood. They sat around the table, they laughed, they drank. What they didn't know was that everything on the table, every cup of wine, every slice of bread had already been poisoned. No one fell by the sword. No one cried out. They simply began to fade, one by one. Some slumped over their plates. Others convulsed in silence, eyes wide open, hands clenched tightly around half-finished goblets. Death was not swift, but it was certain. Why? Because the O'Carrolls didn't want to pay them. Because greed needs no blade. And because sometimes a killer doesn't need rage, just a heart cold enough to feel nothing. Today, if you join one of the many ghost tours through Ireland's castles, your guide might take you into the great hall where the feast once unfolded. They'll tell you how Leap Castle is haunted by 40 souls who died without ever knowing why. And if you're lucky or unlucky, you might feel a cold hand rest on your shoulder, as if one of them is still asking, why did we die? No cries for help, no justice. Only the silence of 40 betrayed men, not by enemies, but by their hosts. Not every ghost in Leap Castle is a victim. Some of the spirits here are treasure keepers, murderers, and souls that cannot move on. Not just because of blood spilled, but because of gold never claimed. After centuries of bloodshed under the O'Carroll dynasty, Leap Castle passed into the hands of another family no less mysterious, no less troubled, the Darbys. This change didn't make the castle any less terrifying. On the contrary, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, where ambition, betrayal, and greed continued to weave the curse that clings to this place. During the English Civil War, a member of the family, Jonathan Darby, hid the family's entire fortune somewhere on the grounds of Leap Castle. But he didn't do it alone. 2 loyal servants were chosen to help, and then never left the castle again. Jonathan killed them both to ensure the secret would be buried forever in blood and stone. There was just one problem. Jonathan was arrested for treason and imprisoned for years. When he was finally released, he returned to the old castle, but his mind was no longer whole. He had forgotten everything, every sign, every map, every clue to the treasure's location. To this day, the treasure has never been found. Some believe it still lies hidden beneath the cold stone floors, behind walls several meters thick, or inside rooms that have remained sealed since Jonathan's time. Others say the ghosts of the murdered servants still roam Leap Castle, not to protect the treasure, but to ensure no one else dies for it. Today, during ghost tours of Ireland's castles, visitors are led through sealed rooms and slanted corridors. Guides tell the tale of a man who killed to protect a secret and was swallowed by that very secret. Among all the haunted castles of Europe, nowhere holds a story of blood-stained treasure quite like this. Because at Leap Castle, wealth may disappear, but blood never fades. And sometimes it's not the dead who guard the treasure. It's the treasure that refuses to let its soul go. Not everyone is haunted by ghosts. Some people choose to invite them in. And Mildred Darby, she didn't just open the door to darkness. She crossed a line no one ever returns from intact. In the early 20th century, when European aristocrats were flocking to seances, fortune-telling, and occult rituals as fashionable entertainment, one woman at Leap Castle went far beyond. Mildred Darby, an intelligent, elegant, and terrifyingly bold woman, didn't just want to hear voices from the other side. She tried to summon them. No one knows exactly what she did during those long, locked nights in the attic room. But seances, spirit boards, ancient forbidden rites from the medieval age, she tried them all. And one night, something answered. It wasn't the spirit of the dead, not a woman in white, not a lost child, but an ancient, nameless, originless entity, known only as the Elemental. She described the experience in an article published in Occult Review in 1909. I was standing in the gallery when I felt a hand on my shoulder. The thing was the size of a sheep, human-shaped, but its face was decayed, eyes sunken. Its smell was the most horrifying thing I've ever known, like a corpse rotting in a crypt. Leap Castle was haunted before, but after Mildred, the haunting became alive. People said she was never the same. Her gaze became distant. Her movements are paranoid. She slept with a dagger under her pillow. She was never alone. Eventually she fled, but the Elemental stayed. To this day, visitors report the smell of sulfur, of rotting flesh, and an overwhelming sense of being watched as they pass through the hallways. Some even claim to see the ghost of Mildred Darby still, clutching her dagger as if she's still fighting the demon she once dared to call forth. Among the countless elemental ghost castles across Europe, no place hosts an entity quite like this, primordial, resentful, and awakened by human curiosity. A demon can be exorcised, but an elemental is the shadow of the land itself, and Leap Castle is the place it chose to dwell forever. You can close the door to a room, but you can't close the door on the eyes of children still watching from the dark, from memories that never go to sleep. Among the many spirits that make Leap Castle one of the most chilling entries in every list of Leap Castle haunted stories, 3 stand out, each with a different tragedy, but one shared fate. They never left. Emily and Charlotte, the children forever trapped in time. Visitors have reported seeing 2 little girls running along the castle's cold stone halls, giggling, chasing one another. Their laughter drifts through the air like mist, light, playful, but it chills the spine. They are Emily and Charlotte, children who once lived in Leap Castle in the late 19th century. Emily died at age 11 when she fell from the highest battlement, breaking her neck and dying instantly. Some witnesses swear they've seen a girl fall from the sky, only to vanish before she hits the ground. Charlotte's fate was even crueler. She was born with a twisted leg, forced to drag herself across the cold stone floors. Some visitors say they've heard the slow scrape of something being dragged even when they were completely alone. And the most chilling part? Charlotte is always looking for Emily, and she never finds her. The lady in red, the woman who died in rage, the woman in a red dress, silently walking the dark halls with a dagger in hand, is one of the most frequently reported ghost sightings at Leap Castle, witnessed by generations of owners and guests. Legend says she was a victim of a brutal assault by a member of the O'Carroll family. She became pregnant, then imprisoned, and forced to watch as her newborn was killed before her eyes. In utter despair and madness, she took her own life with a dagger, and since then, she's never let it go. When she appears, she moves toward the witness, raises the dagger as if to strike, and then vanishes. The smell of iron, blood, tears, and unending rage hangs in the air long after she's gone. 3 spirits, 3 tragedies, 1 castle that never lets them go. And if you step inside, you might just become a part of their story, forever. At midnight, the entire castle is pitch black, but one window high above suddenly glows as if someone is performing a secret ritual in a room that's been burned out for nearly 100 years. Inside Leap Castle, a place soaked in the blood of brothers, enemies, and the nameless lost, there is one room that makes every visitor stop. Not because it's beautiful, but because it never truly goes dark. That room is the Bloody Chapel. It was here that a priest from the O'Carroll family was stabbed through the chest by his brother in the middle of celebrating Mass. A cold-blooded betrayal, no warning, no mercy played out in front of the entire family amid half-sung hymns between the light of faith and the flash of a blade through a beating heart. His soul never left. Centuries have passed. The chapel was burned in 1922, charred, roofless, reduced to bare stone. But even now, almost every night, at random hours, a dim white light flickers through the chapel's high window, like an invisible candle that never goes out. From countless Leap Castle haunted experiences handed down through generations, witnesses say the light is not an illusion. Sometimes it pulses bright like a spotlight, other times it glows faintly like a cold breath hanging in the dark. Then it fades and vanishes. Locals believe the priest is still up there, continuing his Mass each night under the moon, as if he never died. Because his death was unjust. He had no warning, no final confession, no last rites. And that is the most terrifying part. A soul murdered while serving his faith in the one place meant to be sacred. On Real Ghost Stories Ireland forums, many visitors describe a sharp chill down their spine near that room, as if someone is watching them from above. Some say they've heard whispers of prayer, though no one is there. Leap Castle isn't just a place with ghosts. It is a place where souls remain trapped between heaven and earth, between faith and betrayal, between a prayer that was never finished. There are places where even after you walk away, your soul hasn't truly left. Leap Castle is one of those places. No one knows exactly how many people died inside Leap Castle, how many dreams were buried in cold stone, how many souls are trapped within walls several feet thick, and more importantly, How many injustices were never confessed, never forgiven, never laid to rest? Among the hundreds of haunted castles in Europe, Leap Castle isn't just an old moss-covered building with a few vague stories. It's a living archive of humanity's darkness, written in blood, betrayal, and mysteries that have never been solved. Generations of owners have come and gone. The O'Carrolls, who killed each other for power. The Darbys, who killed to protect treasure, then lost their minds to despair. Mildred Darby, who summoned something that should never have answered. And so many more nameless, forgotten souls who died silently in the dark but never left. Today, you can book a tour to visit this place. You can stand in the very room where the priest was murdered. You can walk the hallway where Charlotte drags her feet, still searching for her sister. You might smell the lingering scent of death. You might hear the faint scraping of a dagger against stone behind you. You don't have to believe in ghosts. You only have to feel. Leap Castle is haunted isn't just a monument. It's a doorway to a past that was never truly closed. A place where time stands still, where the living and the dead are only separated by a single blink. Because there are vows that were never kept. There are spirits still waiting to be heard. And there are places where, when you leave, a part of your soul stays behind.